are recording.
Okay, hi. We wanted to investigate the question, how sensory deprivation affects taste. And we did a bit of background research into how other factors affect taste, such as, next slide please. Such as this experiment from 1996, where they compared mental workload to physical workload and how that affects like the duration and intensity of different types of tastes. The dotted line here is just for comparison of like the control in between the two groups. But with the bitter taste, the difference here between like the control and after a mental workload is much different, and it shows that like when you are subjected to different stressors, your taste perception can be more intense.
So I researched about how the touch affects the flavor in this research. In the study that I read about was in Dutch, in this case means like the package and the container of the food or the drink. And there was research found out that potato chips in polyvinyl versus in wax-coated bags, polyvinyl was harder to open, so which makes the customers think that the chips tasted better, and there was different types of textures in the bag that products used that has different impact on the customer, and the customer would think in different ways because it makes it makes different impacts to each customer.
Okay, so this one was mine. I read a study that was conducted where they had a bunch of wine connoisseurs come in and do like wine tasting, but for this one they dyed it was white wine, they dyed it red to see how that would affect the way the wine connoisseurs like described the wine, and because of the color change, a lot of them described it with like red wine like descriptions. So it was more of like a mind trick, even though the wine was white wine, people thought it was red wine.
Okay, so for me, I looked into how sound can affect taste. So there was a study done in 2012 where they had participants eat fish with no soundscape. So soundscape is just the surrounding sound around you. So they had people eat fish without anything. They just had fish. But then when they were listening to kind of like sounds from a beach, like they described the food to be more flavorful. And like this kind of shows how like your surroundings can affect your taste.
So for our experiment, our method was we had at least 4 people per group, and we had several groups. We made them, first group was we made them have no vision, so we either cover their eyes with something or put the drink in the containers that they cannot see what's inside. We had them have cola, tea, Mountain Dew, pineapple Fanta, and mocha, and we gave them every time we give them each in a different order. And for the second group, we made them have no vision and smell, so that means we're gonna block their sight and also let the participants themselves block their noses. And we were gonna record by how many times they guessed and how long did they take to guess to the right, to the right group.
Okay, so for the results, the first graph is how many times it took them to guess correctly without their sight. And the one that was like the highest for this was the milk tea. It had the highest amount of time that it took to guess, because a lot of people got the milk tea mixed up with like mocha and things like that. And then the other one is the graph for how long it took them to guess without sight or smell. And pretty similarly, the milk tea was also the highest for how long it took them to guess.
Okay, so there obviously are limitations to our experiment. So one of the biggest ones that I want to talk about is that for the experiment, we used like the same subjects out for the 5 drinks. So the biggest thing about this is that since we already gave them the 5 drinks, they had 5 drinks to choose from. So it was a lot faster for them to choose, because like it's not like they had like a variety of drinks to choose from. They had like a set 5 that they had before. They had to guess again without smell, so it took them a lot faster to guess those drinks. And we didn't have enough beverages to like continue the experiment, and we didn't feel like going to the store to get more. So that was another limitation. And smell was always done first, which is another one.
These are our resources. That's it.
All right, questions for our drink group? Could you guys go back to the graph? Yes, so what's the really striking thing that you guys found? You guys kind of mentioned this for sure, but what's the really, really striking thing about this graph that this found?
So blue is smell, red is no smell.
Yeah.
And one would assume, and our hypothesis also assumed, that this red would be higher than the blue. But because of our limitations and the way that our experiment was conducted, since they already knew what things they were guessing, the without smell is lower because of what DJ mentioned in the limitations section.
So we're seeing the number of guesses until correct are lower in the group that was plugging their nose, and the time it took to guess was lower because that was the second time each individual participant had done the experiment. So then what is something you can draw from this graph knowing that lacking a sense of smell didn't seem to stop those participants from being able to guess it? What's another conclusion you could make about the effect of doing something twice with taste?
I would say that it's easy to memorize, which is probably one of the big things with this, and why there seems like a distinct difference is that even if we changed up the order, they had already tasted it once, so they just have to remember the taste when they go back and do it again.
And they can easily remember taste.
And also, smell doesn't what do you call it, numb the taste to the point where it's not identifiable.
Yeah.
Right, so even taking away their smell could not overcome the impact of having already tasted this before.
Sensory memory is a thing that we know exists, and this is probably more of proof that sensory memory is a thing that exists with taste. Clara.
Would you consider doing this study again, but also considering maybe making it so that the participants can't hear? Because I know if you're pouring the drinks in, pouring something from a jug is going to sound different from opening a can and pouring it in or something.
Well, all of the drinks were pre-poured when they came in, except for you.
Yeah. Okay.
But the other drinks were all pre-poured. But I feel like maybe blocking out sound could help with them being a bit less distracted, maybe.
Maybe I think they're carbonation, I don't know.
The bubbles,
Yeah.
the fizz.
Yeah, okay. I was just gonna ask, did you tell the participants before they did the first trial what they were choosing, what 5 drinks they were choosing from?
No.
So do you think that could also be a factor in
Yes.
this, of knowing
What
what
might
they
be
were
choosing.
choosing from?
What would you guys do differently now that you've gone through and seen the results and thought about it?
Probably find really different participants for each experiment because when they remember it, it changes a lot, and also we probably wanted to try a few more different blocks of sensory. Just like Clara said, maybe block their ears or things like that. And we're also thinking about doing something that's just give you a false information of what you're getting. For example,
With the wine experiment.
yeah, you can see something but it tastes different or so
Yeah. Also, because of what I said previously, that this proves more of sensory memory. Maybe we could design a new experiment surrounding sensory memory for different circumstances, but I'm not really sure.
Other questions? All right, good job, guys. Thank you.